another Aligner Insider podcast. Well, hello, everybody in podcast land. This is Dean Steinman, President of Ortho Marketing, and we are back with another exciting podcast for you. And today, to my right, is the world famous Dr. Barry Glazer, orthodontist extraordinaire, teacher, author, all around great guy. How are you today, Barry?
You left out Met fan, which is hard
it
to
was a
do.
tough game last night. You see that?
Tough game.
Yeah.
So it's Tuesday, May the 18th, 2021. And Kevin Pillar of the Mets took a 97-mile-an-hour fastball right to his nose. It was
straight on.
Yeah,
it was
hard to watch.
I lost my breath for a few minutes there. It was tough, but they won.
Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, as long as
they won.
As long as you guys know, no nose. You know what happened? What happened to him? No nose. Nobody knows.
He did actually tweet last night that I guess he's doing all right, but I can't imagine that he's going to be out for quite a while.
So speaking of contact sports, we have with us a special guest today. We have with us Dr. Corinne Devin. Dr. Devin is an orthodontist. She's based in Japan, and it's got a great story. She's also a commander in the United States Navy, and really excited to learn her story and to have her join us. So, Corinne, good evening. How are you today?
Konnichiwa from Japan. I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we're able to meet, especially in the future in my time.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And we're really excited to learn your story and hear a little bit about what it's like overseas and being an orthodontist and in the Navy. So what's a little about, Corinne Devin? Tell us your background and where you are and how you ended up here.
Sure. So my father was a dentist in the United States Navy as well. So you could say I drank the Kool-Aid. I was born overseas in the Philippines on American base. So I'm considered a naturalized citizen. And growing up, we moved every 3 to 4 years from the Philippines, Japan, California, Hawaii, and then back in California when my father retired right before he started high school. And then he went into private practice in Reno, Nevada. I was just there for 4 years for high school. And then away I went for college and dental school. And after going to a 4-year private school where not even God gets an A and it's incredibly expensive, I was looking into ways to have dental school paid for. And the United States Navy, as well as the Army and the Air Force, offer a fantastic scholarship called the HPSB. And it's a health profession scholarship program where it doesn't matter the cost of the tuition, the requirements from the school, they pay for it 100%. And in turn, you give them years of service for how many years they paid for. So I rose my right hand to sign up for the United States and said yes to Uncle Sam and committed myself to the Navy upon graduation from UNLV Dental School in 2007. And it's been a journey, to say the least. Never a dull moment in the Navy.
So. Interesting. So let's talk about the Navy. So obviously, as a female in the Navy, we read things as a layman there. So, and you reached right now you're at commander.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am. And so tell me a little about that. What's it like being in the Navy, especially in this time of the world? We're in the middle of a pandemic. How does one deal with that, cope with that, and as an active naval officer? What do you do? What's your job?
So, gosh, depending on the day and the time, I would say my job goes from being a leader in my clinic. I'm second in command as a department head, where I'm in charge of not just only being an orthodontist, but of all the dental specialties. In the pandemic, I actually was in Italy when it hit. So that was definitely very different than, and also moving during the pandemic halfway across the world to Japan. I would say, taking it back to March 2020, I literally just got off the airplane from a weekend with my friends in France. And the next day, it was like literally a bomb went off when the prime minister said he's putting the entire country on quarantine. And, it goes from being able to see patients to now looking like the lunch lady because I'm covered in so much personal protective equipment and really scaling back on who I could see to me juggling the emotions of the people that I work with because now they can't get on an airplane to go home to see their family. They now can't go somewhere to travel. Now everything they had to look forward to was gone. So it was really hard. I'm not going to lie. For me, I just kind of kept myself focused on always doing a workout in the morning, always meal prepping, listening to podcasts like these, that just kind of made me feel like there was someone always there. But I lived off base, and the reality is that I got pulled over every single week by the Italian Carabinieri, questioning why I left my house. And I'm very
Hmm.
fortunate that I speak enough Italian. I'm not fluent, but could speak enough Italian and show the paperwork that the embassy and the base would provide, saying that I did have a legitimate reason to be leaving my house. So it definitely felt like I was in a movie, except I didn't know I was going to wake up, to be honest. It was pretty.
Hmm.
It was definitely pretty traumatic. And then it was also heart wrenching to see how it started affecting other places in the world. Um, so yeah, in a
And
nutshell, I would definitely say it's definitely stressful, but it's great to see that we do have a vaccine. I am so grateful as an orthodontist. I am part of the effort of giving the vaccination to all the people on our base. So myself and other specialists, yes, I'm an orthodontist, and some days, guess what? I'm with my corpsman giving shots in people's arms, getting them vaccinated, and taking a stand against this virus, against for this pandemic to come to an end.
Um, besides being a naval officer orthodontist, something obviously you should be proud of. Tell us a little bit about Miss International.
So, Miss International, I actually was privileged to win that pageant in August 2020 in New York City. So, not too far from where you gentlemen are located. And that was definitely a challenging pageant to prepare for, because we were judged on our social media. We were judged on an interview video before the judges actually met us. And preparing for that in Sicily, and Sicily is a much poorer region of Italy, combined with a lot of rules for the military, where I can't just film patients. I just can't go in and do things with as many liberties as I could, let's say, if I was in private practice. Definitely opened up a whole new world for me. But what's been great is, since then, I was able to partner with my sister queen, whose husband is a former Marine and works for the State Department for Croatia. And we were able to do and coordinate events together. So she
Hmm.
now has relocated from Croatia to Serbia, and then I relocated from Italy to Japan. And we're actually doing a manifest challenge with the other women who are getting ready to compete, a 21-day challenge of working towards their goals and holding each other accountable. And we figured out a time where we all can be on a same Zoom call. It's 4 a.m. in the morning, my time. So the girls are seeing me do burpees in the background, because I'm just trying to physically stay awake. And then they're just on different parts of the world. So for me, the best part about winning the pageant, or one of the best parts, is I won a grant for a TED Talk coach. And so my hope was that the pandemic was going to end last year, like everyone else was hoping, and then I would be able to do a TED Talk, or pitch to different TEDx events to do a TED Talk. So that's
Interesting.
something I hope to do in the near future. Fingers
Which
crossed.
which hat or crown is the would you say is the toughest to wear? Would it be the orthodontist hat, the naval commander
Hmm.
hat, or the beauty pageant hat?
I would say the naval officer hat is definitely the toughest for, because I'm a naval officer 24/7, and everything I do is a reflection upon the Navy. So even today, like, even though it's 8:50 at night my time, and I am not at work and I'm on my liberty time, I'm still a naval officer. And I tell people that, anything I post on social media, anything that I speak, publish, do, has to go through the Navy. And with that comes a set of responsibilities when you wear the fabric of our nation. And that's why whenever I do podcasts or any events, I let people know, hey, these are my views, not the views of the Department of Defense. But with that becomes a lot of privileges and things that I'm very grateful I do, having my education paid for, treating active duty sailors and Marines who can never afford braces, and I get to do it for them for free, is such an empowering and uplifting feeling.
I have a question about that. I've had, I'm not. My office is maybe only about a half hour from West Point,
Oh, wow. You're
and
really close.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really close. So, Dean and I are in the Hudson Valley, but I've had now. Obviously, this doesn't necessarily apply to the cadets, but I've had over the years many patients come in who are going to be enlisting, into whatever branch of the service, where it was required that they had to have all appliances removed. They couldn't have a retainer, couldn't have a bottom retainer. It all had to come out. But I guess once they come on the other side, so once let's say I enlist in the Navy, at some point, then I can get orthodontic care. So how does that work
So,
exactly?
orthodontic care in the military is available. And again, I can speak for the Navy, and the Army and the Air Force do have similar rules. I just am not as familiar where they are. Is available for active duty members stateside, and then overseas dependents, which would be the spouse or the children. who are, and for the active duty, this more applies to them. They cannot be operational, meaning they can't be getting ready to deploy or in a deployable unit. They can't be going on a ship. They can't be going with the Marines, just because there's no one to follow on their care. Now, do some people probably go around the rules wearing clear liners? Yes, but we hoped that they know better, or they get the proper education, so they don't cause undue harm to their mouth that's not being monitored. But in the military, it's very hard for people to get braces. I tell people very often getting orthodontic treatment in the military is like winning the lottery. And just to put things in perspective, there is only 20 orthodontists in the Navy in the entire world. That is it.
Wow.
We're only at 7 locations, and that is it. Because, as much as I love my job and I believe that your smile really can change the world and how you feel about yourself and in your confidence, the way you walk and the courage that you manifest, the reality is no one dies from crooked teeth, and we are here to have a medically ready deployable force. So they're more concerned about function and the ability of someone being out of pain.
Is the majority of your patients you do Invisalign as well, or aligners, or is it strictly metal braces?
I wish I got to do aligners. I put together so many proposals and I had so many directors, but the bottom line is that with the aligner therapy, we just don't have the supplies and the cost. We're using taxpayers' dollars, and so it's cheaper for them to have us use metal brackets. So the most commonly used prescription you'll find in military orthodontics is going to be your MBT 3M 22 slot. No financial interest. Again, I'm just letting you know what you'll see majority of the time. But that is the bracket that we use, and because it is a commonly used prescription and commonly slot used among orthodontists, that is something we use pretty much across the board. I've done some makeshift Invisalign cases, maybe closing a diastema or something where I can do it. My hopes is to get a scanner here, some sort of scanning. I won't be lucky to get something like an iTero, but slowly but surely I can get it. And overseas, I get to treat kids. I get to do everything for the most part. And back in the States, I only treat active duty. And majority of the time we're doing orthodontic surgery. So corrective jaw surgery or full mouth rehab. So I'll have a patient who took a bullet in a face and his tooth saved him, and we're just trying to rebuild it. Or they'll have bilateral open bites, and or maybe they have primary failure eruption. And so it's really just trying to put things back together.
So what's like a normal day? Are your days split between some days in clinic, some days administration? Like what is it? Let's put it this way: what does like a normal week look like for you?
So
What's your
a
schedule?
normal week for me is on Monday. I would say Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday would be a full day in the clinic, and I'm at work at 6:30 in the morning because I'm with the Marines and I like to start before the sun rises. And then usually on Mondays and Wednesdays, we do have physical training. So we are required to be in shape. We do have physical training tests. So I'll work out during my lunch hour with my unit or after work. And then on the Wednesday and Friday, it's usually a half day because then I have meetings. I am a department head, so kind of like running your practice. It's not like you just go in and do braces. I have to juggle like human resources issues, and we call them evals, but almost think of it like a report card for your staff. Is probably the easiest way for me to describe it. And supplies. Being overseas, we have to deal with a lot of customs issues. And so sometimes we have to kind of be very creative. So in the military has taught me to almost MacGyver a lot of situations. So that could be from not having glue for my bands to now me going to the pediatric dentist to me going to my general dentist and finding what they have that I can use to cement an expander or cement bands that I would need to use.
Interesting. Tell me a little bit about your speaking, your motivational speaking, and your empowerment programs.
Absolutely. So I got into public speaking, just kind of fell into it. So back in 2012, I had just graduated from orthodontic residency and landed in Japan. And at the time, they were doing a program with the Department of Defense, partnered with the DODEA. So Department of Defense has an education program over here. So it's basically schools, honor-based, middle school, high school, elementary school, where children of active duty, as well as maybe contractors and even the local population can attend an American-based school. But in Japan at that time, they also have them in Italy, Germany. And they do this day called STEM. It stands for Science, Technology, Engineer, Mathematics. And they invite a keynote speaker. And in the past, they've always invited a female senior officer. At the time, I was a lieutenant, so I was much junior, and they said, we'd love to have you. And I'm like, you're telling me I have to speak to 1,000 middle school girls and keep their attention for 30 minutes and off their phones? Like, what? What do
Talk
you
about a
want me to
miracle.
tell them? And they're
Yeah.
like, anything. So I just was really vulnerable with the girls and shared with them what it was like to be called Four Eyes growing up, and growing up on those same bases that they grew up, that I grew up on, and what it's like to constantly be the new kid at the school, and be teased for wearing glasses that are thick as like a Coca-Cola bottle, and have a patch in my eye, and all the things that you go through as a kid that just feel awkward and uncomfortable, even though your mom tells you, no, you look cute, honey, you're fine. You know what I mean? Even though your friends or people around you make you feel like this big. So that's kind
Hmm.
of what started it. And then from that point on, I was Miss United States at the time. They had me do a bunch of different events. And that just kind of started the roller coaster of just doing motivational speaking. And that carried on when I went back to the States for running a course for the military to attend for orthodontics and pediatrics to get our own CE. We do host some of our own CE courses, to then in Italy where they would have me go to schools. And I've never gotten paid for any of this. This has all just been on my own time. But I'm really excited that I will be the keynote speaker, fingers crossed, for the first live conference for the American Association of Orthodontists in January 2022 in Orlando, Florida. So Chris Benson reached out to me. So I'm really
Oh, wow.
excited, but also really nervous. It's been my dream to present at the AAO, and I am super honored, and I am working super hard to make sure what I give our attendees a fantastic show, and
Yeah.
educational too.
So I've checked out your Instagram, and and seeing, and you were all over the world. Some incredible photos there. So and you mentioned you have lived in many different places. So what's your top two favorite places that you've been to
Been
in your
to
journey so far?
top two places that I've been to.
Hmm.
Gosh, you're asking me like to pick out my favorite shoe in the closet with top two. You know what? How about this? I'm going to pick probably one that probably like really was like a trip that I'll never forget. And that was when I went to Cambodia with some of my good friends. I remember getting off of the airplane and walking out, trying to find the taxi that was part of our tour group. And I was the first one to get there. And I felt like I was in a time capsule turned back 50 years, where everyone's trying to get your attention. You feel like you're being attacked, almost like paparazzis attack celebrities. And then you're praying because you obviously do not speak the same language at all, that you got into the right car. But what was fascinating about the trip was seeing Angkor Wat. I have no idea how that's not one of the seven wonders of the world. Just how humbling and polite the people were, and also to learn about the killing fields. For me, to not know about something that was the own Holocaust in Cambodia was just incredible. And it's something just to go to show you, if we don't remember history, we're bound to repeat it. So that was definitely an incredible experience. The other one I would have to say was actually, I'll go somewhere in Europe, and this was actually for my birthday. The last time I was able to celebrate my birthday, I went to Finland in the month of February. And if anyone knows Finland, it is so cold that you have icicles that will form on your eyelashes outside. And I went there with two other friends in the month of February. This was in 2020, right before we all, got shut down. And we went sledding at night in the dark across a lake and couldn't see
Wow.
ourselves in front of us to go see the Aurora Borealis. And we saw glimpses of it. So if I showed you what we looked like, we were dressed up, which we looked like little Eskimos. We were wearing every single layer you can know, just to not feel like we're going to freeze to death, because it was -40, I believe. So it was very cold. Very, very cold.
Oh, geez.
But it was a great trip. I loved it.
So I listened to a few of your other podcasts, and just research, and so as a motivational speaker, as a public figure, as a leader, anybody that's listening to this, what tip can you give them? What one thing can you say to somebody to for them that they could do themselves, to stand out as a orthodontist, as a person, forget about orthodontist, just as a person. What can somebody do today? What one tip can you give to them to change themselves, make themselves stand out, make themselves a better person?
I would tell them to be in service of others. We have an amazing job where we get to be the light maker, the change driver, the civic leader, the role model. We're the person who really holds the key to all that. And I want people to see people own that and to be authentic in who they are. very often I see it's, and I'm guilty of this too, where we look on Instagram and we see what someone else is doing and we're like, oh, I'm missing out, or I should be doing that, when rather just focus on you. Like, there's only one of you. Everyone else is already taken. Why are you trying to be someone else and who you are? So to me, that's, I say just to own who you are. Hey, this is the label I came in. This is the skin I come in. I'm going to, and fully embrace it. So that's something I would tell people, because God only made one of you. So, own that. God only made your hands, not someone else's hands. So to me, that's who you should be selling. That's who you should be.
Interesting. Great. All right. So we're going to kind of jump on that bandwagon a little bit there. So you have the ability to put up a billboard in Times Square. What does it say?
Times Square.
Could be anything. One word. It could be a sentence. It could be a picture. What's on your billboard?
I would say on my billboard, be present.
Be present. Okay. Great book. You ever read the book called The Perfect Present?
The Perfect what?
It's about The Perfect Present. Okay, I'll have to get you a copy. It's
Okay.
it's great. It's a little 50-page book, and it's about how the present is the perfect present. And if you don't, and if you have to look, if you look past the present, it's gone. You only have it one time, and it's the ultimate gift, the present, because it's gone.
Yeah.
Like that.
For me, it's just something that I've learned to appreciate. Before the pandemic, I think we were all just always so used to going, and checking our phones and answering this, versus it's just the Japanese especially are very much about being intentional with being fully present in whatever you're doing, whether it's eating, whether it's a tea ceremony, whether it's exchange with each other. It's actually considered very rude in their culture to take a business card and not look at it and be fully embraced and present in what someone's saying. If you just put it away, that is like one of the most disrespectful things. So that's what I tell people, is to be fully present, because let's be honest, we never know when we're going to be able to get on an airplane next to see that person, or have that lunch with them again, or appreciate what we have. And even before the pandemic, for me, it was just such a feeling that I always was born and raised with, from having my parents deployed to now me deploying, to never knowing when I'd be whisked away on an airplane. So
Two more questions for you.
sure.
Number one, what makes you smile?
What makes me smile? It's less work, actually. It takes fewer muscles to smile than frown. That's what I tell my leaders all the time.
Okay.
I don't know why they're doing more work. Honestly, I would say, as an orthodontist, what makes me smile is the day that I take off braces for any of my patients, just to see the confidence. What makes me smile right now is I'm training one of my new corpsmen who's never. I can tell she's getting confident in learning how to be one of my assistants, and just seeing her smile underneath her mask is, one of the things that makes me smile. And then lastly, what makes me smile is getting care packages from home. My mom and my aunt are really good about sending me little things of America that I don't get here, like from Trader Joe's. So that makes me smile.
So speaking about a care package, all right. So which would make you smile in the care package? If you get a Hershey bar, or if you get a Reese's peanut butter cup?
Oh, Reese's peanut butter cup, hands down. Hands down, Reese's peanut butter cup.
Unbelievable. Still batting 1,000,
Yeah,
Dean.
it's incredible. But we asked that question, and I think we're literally 100 to 0 of everybody who picks the and I'm one of them too. I love my Reese's; they're the best. What's your go-to as far as making yourself more educated? Do you have a podcast, a book, a website, anything that keeps you up to date on your education? It could be personal education, it could be betterment, it could be from a self-help. Is there any books or podcasts, websites that you could recommend?
Yes, absolutely. Gosh. So if we are talking about self-help, I'm a firm believer of having coaches and mentors. So I've actually been working with a great life coach. Her name is Laurel House. And what I started working with her several years ago, and what we work together now is far different. One of the things I've learned from her is relationships, like interpersonal relationships. So at my previous job in Italy, I was the same rank and in charge of people who were 20 and 30 years older than me. And being a millennial, which I guess depending on which research, some research says I'm millennial, some says I'm not. It's learning how to communicate to people to get a job done, and how I communicated to each of those individuals versus how I communicated it to my staff, to my boss, to my patients was very, very different. And I would say that's an excellent skill to learn, because you can't expect people to function the way you do, especially with all their different personalities. So learning how to understand how people tick and to motivate them to do the job. Um, the other thing that I also go to is I learned how to meal prep. And I know that sounds crazy, but I've, from listening to a few podcasts, so I'm a big fan of Misunderstood and Ed Milet. Those are probably two. I did listen to a couple other ortho podcasts that I really enjoyed. I think one of them I know passed, but right now I love the Digital Orthodontist Live with Kyle Fagella, especially since it's a video. So I have that up when I'm cooking in my Japanese kitchen, not trying to set my place on fire. So that is one that I do enjoy. And honestly, I'm a big people person. So any way I can do interaction with people, like getting back to the States conferences, which, fingers crossed, I can go to one this fall. That's what I do. So in my previous job in Italy, I was back in the States probably about 4 times a year. And I would push myself to go to things that I felt uncomfortable, because let's be honest, you're not going to learn anything when you're comfortable. You're going to learn things when you're uncomfortable. So anything I felt nervous about or knew that I was going to have to do, I'm just kind of threw myself in both feet.
Great. All right. So with that said, we're going to wrap this up with I have one last question for you. Um, if you were to give, and I'm always a big question to ask you like this, if you were to give one other bit of advice that a young girl wants to join the military, okay, and she's passionate about this. My daughter's best friend growing up, um, joined the Merchant Marines. She wanted to be in the military. She didn't get into West Point or any of the other academies, but she got in, and there was always her desire to serve her country. So, what one bit of advice would you give a 16, 17-year-old girl or a boy that wants to join the military, and how they should embrace that recommendation?
Know your why. Know why you were joining the military and what you want to accomplish, because as much opportunity there is in the military will take full advantage of you, and you have to be persistent to the point of probably being tenacious and knowing with that why, and not be afraid to ask for help, and keep asking for help until you get it. Because as someone who's been told no many times, I've been able to find someone who's going to say yes, and all you need is that one person to say yes to that goal, that job, that opportunity, that location that you want to go. And, sometimes when things don't happen the way you want, one of my friends said this really well. She's also a lieutenant in the Navy that I admire, Kelly Hall. And she said, God's rejection is your protection. And it's very true. Very often things in our life sometimes don't go the way that we want it to go. But then all of a sudden, because you didn't go down that path, another door open for you that you didn't even know was going to be open. So that would be my advice to anyone who's looking to join the military.
Great. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, Corinne, what's the best way for them to do so? So if they're interested just to learn more about you, they want you to be a speaker for their company or et cetera, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and find
So
out?
I have on Instagram, I'm Dr. Corinne Devin. That's DrCorinne Devin. Same thing on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And those are the best ways to reach me. I unfortunately, a lot of things, my address, my phone numbers, those change quite frequently every couple
Right.
years. And honestly, I think if I gave out any of the numbers, people would freak out with how many digits and numbers they are. But honestly, that's best the way to reach me. And just keep in mind that I am on the other side of the world. So if I don't get back to you within a few hours, it's probably because I am sleeping. And we'll get back to you within within a reasonable time. But yes, I really hope to see a lot of my orthodontic colleagues at our orthodontic conference. 2022 is in Hawaii, so I'm just saying that's not too far from my island.
And a heck of an island it is.
Yes.
All right, Corinne, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm blessed to have the chance to talk with you. I respect everything you're doing. I thank you as a U.S. citizen. Thank you for your service. And thank you for being part of the authentic community. And just thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. You're a breath of fresh air, and so happy that you were able to join us. And everybody out there, follow her. She's very interesting person, well put together on her presentations, and full of knowledge, and highly, based upon the little I know, I'm giving you two big thumbs up. So thank you so much for everything. Thanks for what you do, and thanks for joining us. And Barry, once again, thanks for hosting with me here. And everybody out in podcast land, be safe, keep smiling, and summer's about to be here, so enjoy. But put sunscreen on. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.